Welcome back to part number three of our three-part series with this Elgin 562. This part is about an hour long. I definitely did not realize that part one and part two would be so short in comparison, but I will publish a full version. It would probably be an hour and a half. But anyways, thank you for viewing part one and two if you have, and enjoy part three. Please enjoy. I already took out the other baskets that had the parts in it, the cleaning baskets. I guess I just didn't film it. But this is the final basket that holds all the screws to the watch. As you can see, the screws cleaned up. They were quite rusty. Here are all the parts of the watch laid out. It looks so much better than how it did. Now we're gonna start the assembly of the watch. And so I actually used the original mainspring. I could not find a replacement. Unfortunately, it's just the dimensions of it I just couldn't find. So we are using the original, and so that will be loss of amplitude. Essentially over the life of the mainspring, where it can keep time, but when it's fully wound, it keeps better time than when it's unwinding, which isn't ideal. And this is the Mobius 8000 grease. I'm going to hook the end of that mainspring on that hook, and then there's a little T that goes into the bottom of the barrel and also goes into the cap of the mainspring barrel. Double brace and hole is what it's called. I just added some grease to the top coils. As you can see, it's moistened. We're going to add the mainspring barrel arbor. And here's that cap. And so you want to line that hole up with that T on the mainspring. Just like that. And this barrel actually wouldn't fit in my mainspring barrel closer, so I just put it on a flat surface and press down. So the cap is applied evenly all the way around the stem. And this is just some D5 oil, D5 clock oil. I like to use it on slow moving parts, so like mainspring barrel arbor, center wheel. If there's a grate wheel next to the center wheel, I like to use it on that as well. Here's the mainspring barrel complete. Escape wheel. Fourth wheel. Third. And then this is what I was talking about. That's the center wheel, but here's that grate wheel that's directly connected to the mainspring barrel. And this is the train bridge cover. Train bridge. And the barrel bridge. And so here we're just lining up the pivots to the bushings. It's a lot easier to do under a microscope than to eyeball it or use a loop. I don't know if you noticed, but that third wheel is a little wobbly in that hole. I honestly didn't notice that till right now. Pretty happy with how the screws turned out. I would like to put a white and black polish on it, but they look fine. This is the click spring. Crown wheel. And so this is the click, and it was pretty rusty. So I started by pegwooding, just trying to rub off as much rust as I could. And I had to resort to using this stuff, which is this L&R rust remover. Smells like farts, but it works pretty well. I believe it's phosphoric acid. We'll take the finish off stuff, by the way. And then this is just alcohol that I dump it in to clean it. With the oiler, I'm holding the spring back so I can drop the click down easier. So I'm transferring alcohol, it's 99% isopropyl alcohol, into this smaller vial because I forgot my one dip in Seattle, and so I don't have any. And I got some, I don't really want to buy some, and so I'm going to make a trip to Seattle to get some one dip, but right now I'm using just alcohol to do a final clean on the jewels. which it leaves a small amount of residue as opposed to one dip, but they come out really clean. And this is the connecting wheel from the Motion Works to the crown and stem assembly that's on the case. That clutch, crown, and stem assembly. Yeah, and I oiled that midwheel wheel too soon. While doing that, I noticed that I forgot to oil the crown wheel. So I'm doing that right now. And this should be just 90-10 for the train. Oh no, I'm going to use a little bit of D5 on the center wheel and that grate and that third grate wheel. Here's the 90-10. I always love to oil under a microscope. It helps me better see if I over oiled or under oiled. So I'll be putting D5 on the underside of the center wheel as well. And if you'll notice, I accidentally nicked the center wheel. This is actually before I just put the cannon pinion on, but that's okay because I also use D5 for the cannon pinion as well. And so the last thing you saw where we had the Motion Works on, I put the barrel arbor on. I'm sorry, not the barrel arbor, the cannon pinion. I did this after this oiling session. This is for the mainspring. Now I noticed I put a little bit too much grease on the end of the pivot of that arbor, and so I go to clean it up with some Radico. And now the new Radico doesn't really pick up oil, as you can see, and so it just kind of wipes it around. The older Radico will pick up oil pretty well, but the newer stuff doesn't. Kind of annoying. So now we're just oiling the train on the dial side. I just put the jewels on a piece of watch paper, just because there's no fuzzies or dust or lint or anything. And seeing that kind of mirror reflection of the light proves that the jewel is nice and clean. So that's just what I'm doing here. You can see the scratches in the wear from the pivot over the years, but it's clean. So now this is the lower balance hole and cap jewel. Now the fun thing that we'll find out here is when I was putting these jewels back, the screws came with these little washers that essentially what it did was make the head bigger so that it could hold down the jewel. Basically somebody lost the original jewel screws, and so they found screws that, well, here, first of all, a little drop of 9010 right in the center of the cap jewel is what you need. But anyway, when I was putting this cap jewel down and using the screws to place it back, they're all too small. I don't know what the heck happened to the washers, but it needed new screws anyway. So that was fun, getting all new screws for this watch. And you'll see here, that screw is not big enough. The threads aren't even big enough to fit in the hole, so I don't even know how that worked in the first place. I don't know if it just was holding on for dear life or what. So now the journey to find new screws. And I did not have an assortment, but I did have this wonderful little tin of screws that I get to search through. So now I'm just trying to pick a winner. Just trying to see what threads will work and what head will work. That one's pretty close, but it didn't work. That one didn't even have a slot for screwdriver. Close, but not a big enough head. Then we came to this guy. And the head was too big, but the threads fit, and so I cut down the head. And this is just showing that the head is too big. It has to fit down in that recess and also cover and hold down the cap jewel. So I'm going to cut that head down. Here, actually, I'm measuring the other screw that did fit, so that I know what size to cut the head down to. So, we're at about 1mm 107 about. Now, another thing what I should have done as well is, as you can see, as that gets filed down, the sides start to come up on the head of the screw. So what I should have done is to try to get that file flat on that steady rest and really make the top of the head of the screw nice and flat. As you can see, it's not. There's like that little bit of a wall around the top of the head of the screw. So now we're just going to assemble the balance. Let's fish out those other two hole and cap jewels. And this one's a lot more worn, as you can see. It's a good feeling when the pivot just drops into the hole. And so now with this, I actually added too much oil. And so that drop goes on and it starts to spread out and it gets to the side of the jewels and it's going to leak all over the jewel. So, all over the setting. And so, I just throw it back in the alcohol and I clean it and added a smaller drop. Here it's clean again. And we had to replace these screws as well because for some reason they were too small. Those washers were gone, I guess. Somebody had to make those washers, I think, because they were small. They were very, very, very small. The best thing about new old stock stuff is it gets nice and rusty while it's sitting in stock for 80 years. So there's a bit of rust on top of that screw. Now I'm going to oil the pallet fork. And I'd probably say this is the hardest part in the watch to oil. You have to get the oil just on the edge of the impulse jewel. and in the middle of it. And just the most, and right now I'm just using pegwood to kind of clean it up just to make sure there's no caked on oil that didn't get cleaned off. But it's very hard to oil these things. It's very hard to under oil. It's very easy to over oil. And so now I have the red oiler by Bergeon, and so the oil is 941. And so I'll use the machine where it pulls that little pinhead inside, grabs oil and pushes it out, and I'll actually grab a separate oiler and pick up the most minute amount off of the oiler, and just add the smallest little drop, because even that much on that oiler is far too much for the jewel. So I'm just adding the smallest little dimple puddle onto the impulse jewels of the pallet fork. Just the most minute amount. So I'm trying to show you here. If you could see, you could see kind of that film of oil on each jewel. Here we are installing it. Most of watchmaking and watch repair is just tapping things to see if it's fallen in. Balance cock, a balance cock screw. Oh, I don't know. I'll let Asa speak. I don't know. Okay, this is my problem. I cannot get that crown and stem assembly off of there. Can't do it. I tried to unscrew it, left, right. I tried to press it off. It is not coming off. And that little clutch wheel and the setting wheel is rusty. So I'm going to ultrasonically clean it in soapy water, hoping that I can clean some of the grime off the case without taking off the black finish and the numbers. And hopefully it can break free some of the grit or whatever that's holding this crown on. Because my God, this thing's not coming off. I'm surprised I haven't broke it yet. So, that's what I'm gonna do. It's been a pain in the ass, to say the least. So the reason I want to do this right now is because I can't wind the watch without this case. There's no way for me to wind the watch, and so I can't make any further adjustments right now, and I wasn't gonna stick this clean movement inside of a dirty case, and so here I am now doing the case in the middle of this so that I can wind it. And so I ultrasonically cleaned it in soapy water, which did wonders. It worked great. Only a little bit of the black finish came off. And then I actually soaked it overnight in soapy water, so I just used like Dawn. And that worked great too. So you can see how dirty this thing is. case looking good. I know what you're thinking, don't do this in your kitchen sink, but it was just soapy water. It wasn't any bad chemicals, it's just soapy water and that dirty case. No ultrasonic cleaning solution, nothing like that. Just Dawn dish soap and gross watch grime, but oh well. So it looked pretty good. But right now, there was still rust that was pitted or whatever in there, and so I'm adding that same rust off. And I kind of wish I didn't. I kind of wish I tried. See, there's rust on the spring. It's just wiping off. I wish I didn't add that stuff because it takes kind of the finish off of, whether it's chrome plated or there's some type of finish on there. It takes it off. And so I think it actually looks better now than after applying that rust off stuff. But then once I did that, now I soaked it overnight. But the case turned out pretty good. I mean, there's wear on it, but it's clean. So as you can see, like all the rust is gone, but the finish of it got taken off, and that kind of, I know it's better functional than looking good, this part, but oh well. You could just see it ate that chrome plating off, or whatever that stuff was. But at least it's clean. Here's the movement looking good. Oh yeah, by the way, getting that movement in there, so easy. Got it in the first try every time. It didn't take me 5 minutes every time. Or 10 minutes. Cool, so now I can wind it. Well, almost. I have to add that other section of the clutch. Clutch and winding pinion. That's the correct term for it. Clutch and winding pinion. Now this is a pain in the butt to get in, and I should have oiled it, and I did later. But as of right now, it is dry, and you can see it does not want to screw down. But as is with watch repair, force it. I mean, that's #1 rule. So now it winds, but then it slips. And that's because it didn't oil that little piece, and so it's not down far enough, forcing that clutch and winding pinion down to those ratchet teeth. So I add some lubricant. I apologize for all the traffic noises. And it whines. And it sets. I love brass dominant movements. With the barrel bridge, main plate, train bridge, it's all brass. It looks so good. It just accents with the steel components really well. So pretty. Now let's throw it on the timer to see where we're at. Not doing good. That's where we're at. Basically, it's so loud in there, and the beat and the amplitude and all that is so inconsistent, it doesn't even pick up timing at all. And so a big thing to do, well, first let's look at the pretty movement. In this light, it looks really good. So the very first thing to do, demagnetize the thing. I can't tell you how many times I've been fixing a watch and I've gone through everything. I'm like, why the hell is this thing not working properly? Oh, it's magnetized. If that hairspring's magnetized or any of the other components, it's just not gonna run well. And so another thing why that it was happening was that top cap jewel is not, both jewels are not set down properly. So there's no way that thing's gonna run good. And so here I'm just tightening down the screws to get that thing nice and stable. And I haven't seen anybody else do this, but I've broken a regulator before, and I like to add a little bit of oil to the regulator so that it glides when you want to regulate the watch. Ever since I broke one, I forced it too hard, obviously, but it wasn't moving for a reason. And so I like to add a little bit of oil. For old stuff. New stuff, no, but old stuff, yes. And so now we're just fast. Oh no, there was one more thing actually. The hairspring, probably manipulating that regulator, has pushed the hairspring down and it was laying on the balance arm. There's no way it's going to run good if half the hairspring's cockeyed and laying on the balance arm. And so I basically just lift and kiss that hairspring up off the balance arm. Yeah, you'll lose amplitude, you'll lose timing, you'll lose everything if that hairspring isn't perfectly centered and not touching anything. So now we check. And the dots, it's fast, but the dots are nice and consistent. really well. Amplitude's a little low at 240, but I'm not actually really sure if this is an 18. I know it's an 18,000 beat, but I'm not really sure if the amplitude, if that's low for an 8-day clock. I'm not 100% sure. So 240 is low for like a one, for a 24-hour piece. You want to get higher than 250. And so now we're going to put it in beat because it was like 3.6 seconds or milliseconds off. So here I'll be moving the hairspring collet left to right. I forgot which way, but so that the roller jewel is perfectly in line with the pallet fork. You want that pallet fork perfectly centered in between the banking pins. Got it on the first try. No, if you watch part 2, it took me over an hour to get that thing in beat. Here we are, 0.0 milliseconds off a day, plus 1 second a day at 244 amplitude. That's pretty good for a clock made in World War II. This is the sweep seconds pinion. And the bridge for it. Add some 90-10. There's no good way to do this. And so I didn't do much. I took a makeup brush from Sephora and I added a little bit of warm water and I just brushed the top of the dial. There's no good way to clean a dial. There's no good way to clean a hand. There's for vintage stuff anyway. So it's just warm water. It doesn't feel good to me to clean everything and then leave the dial and hands be. And so I have to, I have to clean it a little bit. Get off the dust anyway. The surface grime. And yeah, that paint is probably radium. Same with the hands. So don't lick the paintbrush when you're done. Or huff the dust. Just dab it, try to get most of it off. Didn't do much. I love that dial though. And so now this is a pain in the butt, where this is the seconds wheel essentially. And so that fourth wheel goes up through the plate and that sits on that pinion, or that pivot, connects to the sweep seconds pinion, and that's how you get center seconds. And now the reason why that second hand jitters back and forth is because it's missing that spring on top of there. And so it basically, I don't know why they made it with two wheels. I'm not 100% sure. But basically, there's two wheels there that the bottom wheel is connected to the pinion, and the top wheel isn't connected to the pinion. It's just kind of floating there. And so the separation in between the teeth is so wide that when it connects to the sweep seconds pinion, it like jitters. And so that's why the second hand jitters. I don't even know why they made two wheels. I'm not. If you guys know, please let me know in the description, or in the description, in the comments below, why they put two wheels on top of each other. I don't know if it was meant for like if there's a shock or something. I'm not 100% sure, but basically that spring makes both of those wheels flare out, so the teeth are like this, and when both those teeth come around with the sweep seconds pinion, it holds firmly to it, and so the second hand doesn't jitter back and forth in between the two teeth rattling like that. But I don't know why they did two wheels. It couldn't be a shock system. I really don't know. I read in some blog or some forum that it was like for shock, but I'm not sure. It's just 3 dowel screws, by the way. With this hour hand, the hole to the hour hand, I didn't have a plastic pusher that was big enough to fit over the cannon pinion and whatnot and push it down, so I just used was careful and used the wood tips of those tweezers to push it down because I just didn't have a pusher large enough. And the second hand's a little bent up. So I gotta pull that up a little bit. You can see it jittering. So I begin my journey to try to find a spring for the sweep second spring. And so it's an Elgin 562. There's 562. We'll go to S for spring. Clutch, setting, main, regulators, sweep second. For sweep second spring, you go down to 562. And the magic number is 5961. So that's the Elgin genuine part number. 5961. So then we go to Swartz House, which is a giant Swartz house that's no longer a thing. And I try to find to see if they have the spring. And there we go. There's all the springs. This book was patented in like 1924, 1925, something like that. It's an old book. So I tried to make one, because I don't got one. And eBay doesn't have one. And I've seen pictures online where it looks cooler, I guess is why they did it, but they moved the wheels out. That also didn't work. It worked for a second. Like, look, it's doing a nice sweep, continuous sweep. And the thing would stop, and it wasn't rubbing on the plates or anything. So, I am in search of that spring. If you guys have one, I will buy it from you. Thank you. 5961 is the part number. But look at how beautiful this movement is when it's all put together. It's just gorgeous. It's just so pretty. It cleaned up so well from what it looked like before. All the wheels and screws were rusty in the click. It wasn't shiny. There was grit and grime everywhere, but look at this. It was a fun project, to say the least. Right now it's been running for about 8 days, so I wound it. It's an awesome clock. It's a tank or an aircraft clock, I believe is what I read. I got pretty good at putting the movement in the case. I had to do it so much. And so instead of using that Mobius 8000, I wanted to use some silicone grease. So yeah, here's that clock right here. Taken away. I love it. Well, thank you guys for watching. As you can see, the dial's really scratched up, and I think it's because these don't have a cover for them. I think they might have been in a center console, or not a center console, but some type of dash where it had a cover over it, and so it did get scratched if that cover comes off. But if I find a domed enough plastic cover that you can remove, I'll try to figure out a way to snap that in here, because I don't want dust getting in there. But anyway, thank you guys very, very much for checking out this video. And if you checked out part 1 and part 2, I will be releasing a full version of this because I noticed people didn't really like the parts so much. So there'll be a full version as well. And I think my next watch I'm going to do is a pocket watch that was digital.